It is 10:01. Welcome to the Easthampton Mayor's COVID virtual town hall. I am Ryan Arnold from Easthampton Media. The way that we're going to go, as usual, is that Mayor LaChapelle is going to speak. If you have questions, you can wait till the end where you'll be allowed to unmute yourself and ask them, or you can type them into the chat and I will ask them for you. All right, Mayor LaChapelle.
Good morning, Easthampton. I'm Mayor LaChapelle, and this is my weekly virtual town hall. This week, I will not be having a guest, but walking through my mayor communication proposal, mayor communication items that I presented last night at City Council, because I think that they're extremely relevant and we really want to get the message out. The first is I read a proclamation making June 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. As a part of that, I'm encouraging everyone to wear orange. And if Easthampton became affiliated with this movement some years ago, and every year we do a new proclamation to renew our commitment. I saw many gun violence pins around last year. People may still have them, but more importantly, we're encouraging people on Friday to wear orange, because orange is the color that hunters use, so they are not shot at while they're hunting, to bring the attention orange into the greater public, to remind us all of the thousands, tens of thousands of people who have died from gun violence. Also, starting today at the fence at 50 Payson, there will be small banners memorializing those who we lost to gun violence, as well as general information, and that will stay up for some time. And I thank this group for coming forward and doing that work to memorialize, to remember who we have lost to gun violence, and that it's not a number of their people. On Friday, this Friday at 12:30, President Conniff, President Conniff of the City Council will be bringing the gay pride flag to 50 Payson, to our flagpole, to have that raised for the rest of the month of June. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the traditional Pioneer Valley celebration that happens on the first weekend of May was canceled, and hope to come back on 2021, but we really didn't want this important group and tradition we started last year to go by the wayside. And so the flag will be raised. There's no ceremony or speeches. If folks want to watch that happen Friday at 50 Payson Avenue, 12:30, they're welcome to, but we strongly encourage, of course, folks covering their masks and keeping distance from other folks, so it is also safe. And then today at 4:00, the police chief and I put out a joint statement earlier this week around George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and just too many others that we've lost to police brutality. And we will be taking, Chief and I will be taking a kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. We're going to do that at 32 Payson. I think I want to clarify that there is not an event. This is an invitation for folks, if they'd like to reflect and contemplate what is happening in our country as a result of generational systemic racism and bias. Anywhere they are in the city or wherever they are in the world, if they would like to join in this type of reflection, to take a knee for that time. There is no mandate to do so. There's no mandate of public employees. There's no mandate of volunteers or elected official. It's something that the chief and I talked through with different people in the community and ourselves, and put that invitation forward with our joint statement. We would encourage people, regardless if they participate, that you cover your face, that you maintain safe distance, at least 6 feet, if not more, ideally, while participating in this memorial. The church, the Congregational Church on the corner of Union and Main, Reverend Tucker reached out, and she will toll the church bells for the entire time that Mr. Floyd head was pressed into hot pavement, because there was a knee of a police officer, clearly deranged and sociopathic, who nonchalantly just looked away and up and down the street while Mr. Floyd begged for his life and called for his mother. And the church bells will toll for that. The invitation to take a knee is not to supplant or replace or discourage any peaceful protest or peaceful rally. We ask people participating or speaking their outrage to do so safely. And again, cover your face, maintain social distancing, and do it in a safe place. We will have patrols through the city to make sure that if folks are speaking their mind, that they are safe from traffic, and that they have a path made forward for them to express their justified outrage. The fire and police, we're going to make sure, because of other folks on other emergencies that have come back, that those vehicles are easily accessible to our public safety workers, and will not have to disturb any of the 8-minute and 46-second kneeling at around 32 Payson, 50 Payson, and the pond. If folks do want to come to the area of 32 and 50 Payson, we ask them to park at 50 Payson and then decide where in that general area they would like to participate or watch and bear witness, regardless of their thoughts on this type of a statement. Last night, I took and signed on to President Obama's mayor pledge that has been put forth with also My Brother's Keeper, a national organization that does tremendous work around issues of police brutality and inherent racism and blatant racism, discrimination. And that pledge has 4 components. It's at obama.org/mayor-pledge. And I encourage everybody to take a look at that. And that will start with the Community Relations Committee, a review of use of police force, as well as the written policies, the practice, looking at the data, and we'll work that all through the Community Relations Committee. I'll remind people that the Community Relations Committee was created from direct work with the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, and that connection remains. That group is independent from my office or any city office, but there are liaisons from city government. There are liaisons from city government that have been asked to that meeting to just talk about policies or concerns that come forward. I am hoping after this and the different statements I've gotten from residents across the board that the Community Relations Committee is accessed. One of the questions I have for the community, but also, in my own reflection is, we work really hard and put forth a resolution to create a permanent part of our government to address and really do the hard work around bias and racism, discrimination, brutality. And it's even been hard to get people to come to the group and apply to be a member. We're almost full. The meetings are not well attended, but it's a tremendous resource. And to have the backing of that group by the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, as well as national groups that deal with police brutality, I hope that our community will see them coming up. I also thank that committee with co-sponsoring with me the Abraham initiatives in October, who came over from Palestine and Israel and did a community forum with members of our police force and community activists and members of the committee, and the two co-founders of the Abraham initiatives, Israeli and a Palestinian, to look at community policing and finding a path forward, and not necessarily, definitely not of agreement, but of common humanity and what, common issues that affect everyone. So we'll have more around my brother's keeper and President Obama's pledge that I signed on to last night. I want to thank Lena Akhtar, who texted me and give me the heads up and the opportunity to do so. Thank you very much, Lena. And also the Obama Foundation effort dovetails very nicely to President Obama's 21st Century Community Policing Programming that the Easthampton Police Department adopted in 2015. And I see the work of the Obama Foundation, My Brother's Keeper, this city, my office, putting some life and vibrancy into the 21st Century Community Police Program. And we'll see more of that. So at that level, I usually kind of lead off with about 15 minutes, and we're there. So if I'll hand it back over to our moderator, Ryan. So if people have questions or comments, and as always, any question, I know I've gotten a lot of questions around reopening. It's not limited to what I just spoke to, but certainly, I guess it's ask me anything. So there you go, Ryan.
All right, this one is from the chat from Jason Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to what the actual tasks that the Community Relations Committee does? Do they have oversight responsibility or only ability?
Or only what?
Or only ability?
That's a typo. Sorry.
Only oversight or advisory?
Do they have any? Advisory. Thank you.
Yeah. They have the ability to investigate and review a pattern or habit of events or community program that might be needed. They then can make advisory reports or statements to any department in the police, or work with the Civil Rights Department of the Department of Justice to address the area of concern at a higher level. So examples of that were the Abraham initiatives, because of some concern around community policing in the community, and the first event, the community conciliation site-based intervention team that came in, for one up at the high school, and then for the city. More work to be done, and I don't know, I don't want to put Jane Hamill on the spot on this call. She's the chair, but it's it's been frustrating. The committee has been frustrated. I think And when I go to the meetings and trying to engage people around those issues and the work that they can do. It's one thing to have the committee, but there needs to be public participation and not even participation, direction, right? So what are the issues? And I know I haven't read all I'm very behind on the emails of this morning that I don't want to talk that are wide ranging. I mean, they're really 360 perspectives of today and also going forward and expectations of policy. So I haven't been able to talk to Jane about it, about next steps and integrating the use of police force policies in Easthampton through the mayor's pledge and the Obama Foundation. But that's where we're going, and the CRC will lead that.
Thank you. Louise Jacob would like to know what has been done to ensure that if the police are ever called to a school again, that they will be prepared to de-escalate to ensure that all of our students are safe.
So we've done more de-escalation training and taken a different perspective of it around. We just had a grant for a school resource officer that is based more community policing and de-escalation. So that's one shift with that position. And that was applied with the schools as well. Looking at the policies and the creation of the community relation committee, how that integrates and how that changed, that resolution kind of changed the shift of training. And quite honestly, there's a different conversation happening at Easthampton High School with the police and what the expectation and the interaction is, and how that happens, and having a more regular conversation at the school, but also through the Healthy Youth Coalition around safe choices, wellness choices, and we were just refunded for that. So Lori Solomon is on, and she works directly with the SRO, the superintendent, and the community liaison officer.
I think Louise might have had a follow-up. Do you want to unmute yourself and if you had a follow-up question?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to unmute you. There you go.
Hi, Louise. Oh, you just were. Okay.
Okay, I was unmuting. Yeah, same time. Okay, this is something that is of extreme interest to me, and it's impacted some moves that my family was actually considering. Having said that, so I feel obliged to still follow it up. I didn't follow all the different groups and the bodies and the meetings you were talking, the personnel you were talking about. What I know, as somebody who's probably paid a bit more attention than average, and that's all, is that I went to one meeting with the sort of different community meeting, small one, with the EHS new principal. I do understand that they see it within a wider context and they're approaching different things. But you can't get through to them if you're not a parent. No, that was September. There's no report back. There's no way for just ordinary members of the public who care about this. I might talk to somebody. Somebody was on with I know you don't stay on Facebook, but somebody was on last night with friends, and they've got mixed race kids, and they're thinking about Easthampton. And she put that's where they had to go, for somebody to be put in touch with somebody else. I mean, this should all be made. I'm saying, how can we regularly watch it, regularly know what's going on? Not identifying individuals, but as what's the term? Interested or concerned citizens. It seems very opaque. So not very.
I think I have a couple responses to that, because I've been. You're not the only one with the concerns, and the work around culture change, especially at the high school, and reporting back. I think there shall be a request to the school committee and the superintendent to really demand a report back. And I just made a note, and I'll do that. Also having the superintendent on this interactive forum. So she's been on a couple of times, but I think it would be helpful to have a regular scheduled, like every second Thursday, like it's going to be about the schools here. I think that would be helpful. I also, and something that really not just what's going on today or has been going on around the outrageous injustice, the perpetuated injustice is, and COVID is our website. So, our website is pretty static. It's pretty difficult to navigate. And it really surprised me how many people really were like, we want that to be like, the Facebook is great. But for bigger documents and, just looking at different departments all at once in school committee, it's really awkward. It's a dinosaur. And we need to, I'm looking at using some COVID-19 money actually to freshen that up. As well, looking at some different software to do what they call reverse town halls, where everyone in the town, like with Code Red, like you get a call from Code Red. Well, this would be an invitation across all of the city and schools, parents to say, reminder on Thursday at 10 a.m. or reminder on Friday at 7 p.m., there's a teletown hall. Submit your questions, call in, and I was just on one with 5,000 people out in Worcester, and it was really powerful. And there were a lot of questions. I mean, we basically, answered questions, and then they took down all the questions. But I think that that's a really good tool to bring together, especially around the schools, the whole community. So even if you don't have a child in it but it concerns you what goes on in the schools, I think across the community, we need to make that school conversation broader and easier to jump in, and stuff. So,
okay. I'd agree. I'm just going to say briefly.
Yeah.
I don't love Facebook. I keep saying that because you can't even find this meeting. Like, until you get these big things, why not just put your announcements, and why not put some of what you're talking about here? I'm not saying that some of what you've just said, get it out. Yeah. That's one way to start. A small way. That's got a lot of people very interested. And, use, get going, use that until, and at the same time, Jason has some questions. Okay. Passing over to.
No, I understand you.
I think they're more important.
Right, Facebook. No, and I would say that's definitely a challenge, and for me, and has been honestly since I took office, is communicating out answers to these kind of questions in an easy, accessible way, other than social media, which I think we all know I don't have a fond taste, and get it to do it through TV and a newsletter. I'm very open to forms of communication that will get things out there. Because I am. I mean, I agree, Louise. It's a big thing.
All right, we got a couple more questions in the chat. First, a pair of questions from Jason Montgomery. First, what steps will you be taking to Obama Foundation what steps will you be taking to Obama Foundation pledge into policy?
Sure. And I just pulled it up. So so bear with me a little bit here. So with taking the pledge, it's structured through my Brother's Keeper Alliance, who will also, and actually it's up on the website already, support. And I committed to at least the first 4 actions is review police use of force policies, engage your communities by including a diverse range of input, experience, and stories in your review, report the findings of your review to your community and seek feedback, reform your community's police use of force policies. And again, I will engage the community relations committee with that. And thinking that we'll probably pull back in our DOJ supports and Brian Core, who's doing important work out in Cambridge. He's the peace commissioner, and he's been out a couple of times to talk with the committee during meetings and stuff like that. So.
All right, Jason would also like to know, would you commit to a moratorium on the militarization of the Easthampton Police Department?
What would I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just looking for clarification on the moratorium. Like, so what if I were to do that? What would it stop, or like what would they need to stop? Like, can I have more detail?
Jason?
This is a more of a preemptive commitment. I don't have to kind of go into a huge amount of detail about how police departments across the nation have moved to a more military model of policing in their community. I am asking that the Easthampton Police Department and that the city of Easthampton commit to a moratorium on any police any militarization of our police force. This can include equipment or training that would and could be classified as military training for the police. We don't need tanks in Easthampton. There is stuff on the budget right now that, frankly, I understand a 20-year-old ballistic shield probably needs to be replaced, but why? I mean, I understand they're looking to upgrade from the Glock 4 to the Glock 5. I would even say that's not military, given the rationale behind it. Their desire to change their ammunition, I would say that's not military. But to say preemptively, we will not engage in X, Y, and Z. We will not engage in the purchase of armored patrol vehicles. We will not engage in the purchase of high-powered assault weapons. Or that, to me, sends a clear message about what we want our community to look like and what we demand of our police. I mean, personally, I go a little extreme. I would love to see disarmed patrol officers. I don't understand why someone standing in front of a dump truck needs a Glock on their hip. It doesn't make sense. We could probably police our community without our lethally armed patrol officers. But I understand that kind of change actually will take some time. But yeah, I mean, I think that is a strong commitment that our community can make.
So I certainly am or will right now commit to an executive order around the militarization. I would want and work with you and a member of or a couple of members of the police department around what that exact language. I mean, I know we're not going to cover everything, in an executive order, right? It would be a dissertation, but Jason, I'm certainly willing to walk through what other cities have done and what we could do as an executive order. I would say, I think the longer term solution, I think that I don't disagree that something has to be done sooner rather than later to make today mean something. But I think that executive order, if it's written clearly, feeds right into the My Brother's Keeper Alliance pledge. And, I think, right? I mean, that's kind of, and I don't want to rush a review of policy, quite honestly.
No, I totally agree. And I think a commitment to that executive order with due process and time given to actually ensure that it is a meaningful order that accomplishes what we want to accomplish is a great step. I personally, I mean, for me, that and this is a bigger ask. I understand it is a more complicated ask, but to say, the city of Easthampton and the police department will issue a formal apology for the centuries of, systemic racism and abuse could be a powerful message to be sent today. I understand the weight of that decision, and I understand the weight of that apology. It's not lost on me that in some ways that would be an unprecedented step for a mayor to make and for a city to make. It has happened in other areas, so unprecedented is a bit of hyperbole.
Definitely.
Yeah, for me, today could be punctuated and be made very powerful with that simple statement.
Right.
That we understand that we are part of a larger problem, and we are privileged and benefiting from this problem, and we are looking to move forward with that through this initial apology and move towards amends, healing, and the creation of a just community.
So and interestingly enough, it was more me pushing on this than the chief when we did the joint statement. I insisted on no speaking program today. And one of the reasons why I did that, or really the reason, I don't know what to say. Like, I really don't. And I don't want to speak for the chief, but I don't know what I want to hear from the chief right now that makes any of this assuring or better or more safe. I don't. I don't know. I mean, I made some impassioned words last night in city council, and my head was spinning inside. And, to process what I can do as a public official, I can't do it alone. I would really want, your help and collaborate with you on that executive order, Jason. But
you've got it.
You've got it. I mean, as a white woman, who, I mean, honestly, I had the luxury to take, think about this. I had the luxury to really, to cut my salary in half and become mayor because I'm privileged. I mean, who the hell has that, right? I mean, it's so for me to it just feels like pontification. So it's 8 minutes. The bells, the church want to ring the bells. People will kneel or not kneel or do, what they need. This is, So
no, I truly appreciate everything you were saying right now. And I think someone said on chat, I appreciate you saying, I don't know. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That is a real and honest response to a very complicated situation. And I appreciate your commitment towards the executive order. And I will take that as an action towards actual change.
Yeah.
So you 100% have my, have my appreciation. So.
Yeah. No, it's, it's easy. It's easy for, you know what? I won't stereotype and say easy for me as a white woman or for white people. I'll just say it's easy for me as a white woman living in this city very comfortably to let this all fade, right? And there's nothing I can say right now to say that I haven't done that in past. I mean, George Floyd wasn't the first time. We just saw him die on camera in a brutal, horrid, depraved way. But Trayvon Martin, I was here, and I knew about that, and it fades, right? And that's a part of the ingrained racism that I hold generationally. So.
I'm going to combine these two questions into a two-part question about specifically what kind of riot gear the Easthampton Police Department has, and if you think they might be willing to commit to not using existing riot gear.
Yeah, I don't. I know they have it. I don't know what the inventory is, honestly. I mean, that, and the commitment to use it or not. I think, again, I think that's a conversation, and that's a hard conversation. And this morning, At 7:45, I went to the roll call, the police roll call, over at 32 Payson, and said, there's a lot of burden and weight on the department, and they said on me, because I'm the mayor of everybody, including those police officers and the chief, and yeah, that's just, I'm not, again, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm not looking to jump on, and nor am I saying you're jumping on a bandwagon, but I'm not going to start throwing out decrees around that stuff without sitting. My preference would be to be sitting socially distant, safely from members of the police and the union and leadership to start that really hard conversation. I can throw all sorts of paper out, right? I have in the past. So I don't think I'm interested right now in just throwing out paper. I want to have face-to-face conversations, or even Zoom if it has to be that, but I'd rather do it, I don't know, outside, and everybody's 10 feet apart, and say, look, this is where this is coming at. I'm not a big fan of just unilateral moves like that, but I want to have those conversations with, an outcome. Understanding the responsibility is to listen to, the constituents and residents and visitors. And, I think we all agree, even though there are things happening in different communities, there's really no geographic barriers here, right? Yeah.
Okay, little change of pace. Louise Jacob would like to know, have our schools been able to reach all of the students? Are they in regular contact, and have all the students who need laptops or other devices been supplied?
Yeah. All the students have been contacted. The regularity of that, I can't speak to. There are definitely concerns, especially with students and families who are struggling with housing and food security, and also older students, like 16 and up, they've checked out, and engagement has been really difficult. Students and laptops is actually going pretty well. What the issue is, and it's getting more and more urgent, is internet. So our cable company gave 90 days free to anybody, and that was great until the 90 days were up. And the school superintendent and our IT director is looking at the, I don't know, I don't have cable internet. But I have one of these. I don't know what, right? And so this is my internet, and it moves. So, we're trying to, make a deal, but this, I think, is our answer. Because internet is a huge problem. It's like the devices, more Chromebooks, that's really easy to solve. We've been buying them, but the internet is it's a bear. I mean, it is the tool of, inequality right now in Easthampton. Yeah.
Sorry, that's why I had initially included, they're called hotspots, as I know, because I know areas where they're giving them out when they can reach the people in the first
we're going
place.
that way. Yeah. There's, we put internet in different parking lots so people could download, and the fastest thing we could do, but to interact, right, to do the Google Classroom and all of that, you need internet. So it's about, doing this, making sure there's enough data, making sure that they're, I don't know, maybe I'm so far out of my expertise right now, but I do. I think this is what our answer is. They're easy. I mean, it's $20 a month. So
I just that it'd be lovely for that to get going quickly.
yeah.
You know, 15-year-olds, the harder it's going to do to get back. And why not blast the internet from the library? It's just
I would love to.
Because some kids are going to think to go there. I've tried it a few times myself. It's not been on. And I'll leave it there. It's I know it's in the weeds, but like these kids, it's just wrong. Thank you.
No, yes.
All right. Is there anybody else who has a question that would like to? You can either unmute yourself and ask it, or you can type it into the chat if you don't want to be on microphone.
Not a question. Just let's talk a little more, because Stavros Center for Independent Living is starting a digital divide campaign, which affects some of these issues. Let me connect you with Yashira, Jennifer, Lee, and Tuan. Our advocates, and let's talk a little bit. I'll reach out to you about that via email in the next day or so.
Stavros, digital divide. Yeah, there was just an online conference on the digital divide with United Way and Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and trying to figure it out and actually around the Wi-Fi's and how to boost and blast out Wi-Fi into neighborhoods.
I think we probably were on the same conference. But one of the things that we've recognized is it's not just the digital access, but it's also the education. We were seeing, I think 11% of kids in Springfield didn't even log on to the Chromebooks they got, and so there's other things that we need to do beyond just access to the technology. So
I just don't. I mean, I don't want to. I just don't know how the Chrome. I mean, for some kids, they definitely work. They have the education. They have, or even if we were to get internet or whatnot, how that happens without some in-person, again, face covering, socially distant interaction. I don't know, like sitting in the playground of Maple Street School or whatnot to show the power of it, right? To get their attention. I could be wrong, and I'm fine being wrong. I'm very used to it. I don't know. I mean, I think it's been a while since I've been in a classroom teaching, and when I did, it was like just the beginning of the Chromebooks. But it's a really good point. There was a lot of education to understand what it could do. Yeah.
And not just for the kids and what they could do. I mean, we had parents saying, I didn't want my kid to open it because I was afraid if something happened to it, I would be charged for it. There's cultural and ethnic dynamics that weren't addressed before all of this rolled out. And so I think there are, things that there's education that needs to happen. So.
Yeah, it's just, oh gosh. And that's not new. It used to blow my mind when, you assign books to kids and, you had to put your name in the front of the book and then something would happen and you couldn't get your grades without paying $84 for a book or whatnot. But, but the book wasn't used the next school year because it was the wrong edition. I mean, it would just, same with the Chromebooks. Yeah. I mean, they're $250, like whatever.
Yeah, and I think that it's something that represents again more a more cultural training that needs to be done with our communities before we roll this stuff out. Understanding that a low income family, an immigrant family may not understand their responsibility around the equipment and what that represents. $250 to the city, you could go and kind of brush it off. $250 to a household is gigantic. I mean, it's huge.
Right, and I don't think that they should be responsible for it.
Yeah, no, I think we both agree on the.
Okay.
I think we're both on the same side. Yeah.
Yeah, it's signing your life away, or even holding that thought for that's so simple to solve.
All right, this question is from Peter Marks. Can you please help me understand the reason for the local Department of Health requirement to wear a mask at the outdoor gym classes, even with proper social distancing?
Yeah, so I mean, that comes from the CDC and also the State Department of Public Health. And it's more precautionary if that social distancing, was breached. I mean, not purposely. And the studies, COVID-19 educates us every day, regardless of the number of studies. And this idea around droplets and aerosol is one great outdoors because it seems to just move everything away. But the path, like how long it really stays active and what the chance of transmission is, and and then if there's exposure and you're asymptomatic, or you're asymptomatic in doing that. So it's a both of a mask and social distancing, which doesn't, I get the contradiction there, but we really don't know what COVID, I was on that reopening board. I'm still on the reopening board. And during that short period of time, we had like 5 different studies that conflicted around the spread of COVID-19. And it was kind of like, okay, we're going to do all of this. We're going to do both social distancing and the covering of our face. So reopening, the risk of reopening is diminished as far as transmission. So that's where we are.
All right. Any closing remarks, either from the participants here, and if not from them, then from the mayor? I'll give you.
Yeah, I thought I just saw a question pop up.
It is a comment. It is thank you for doing this. There's a question after the comment. Can you speak a bit about your experiences with the reopening board?
Yeah, I'd rather go through law school 3 times than do it again. That's for sure. Yeah, talk about a fire hose. It was in the beginning. The group, it was so disparate of where our experiences were and where we were coming from, and our responsibility to the public. I don't want to say it was contentious, but it was really siloed. And by the end, we all came to a couple of realizations. And one was, no matter what the phase was, no matter what the process was to reopen the economy, that those decisions came with more transmission of COVID-19 and deaths. Like, no matter what we advised the governor and lieutenant governor on, that people were going to die as a result of our choices. That, another realization was that people were going to reopen in their own ways, if not given guidance, and DPH and health officials would lose control. And 3, the consistency that we'd like to see across the state, not to mention our neighboring states, was just, I think in the beginning we thought we would get there. I think in the beginning, that we would get something really consistent and we could get other states to adopt it. And by the end, we were like, oh boy, this isn't going to happen. Like, we need to pick the middle road, something like, Peter, masks and distancing, because there won't be consistency. There's not consistency. Like golf courses open first. I don't know, restaurants, but not bars, and it's driven by health data, and to slow down the opening of a lot of the same industries. But consistency was something was one of our really big goals in the beginning, and we had to give up. We didn't totally give up, but strike a middle road. Mm-hmm.
All right. I think unless anybody else has any other burning questions, that's the end for this week. In regards to where you can log on to get to this meeting, as well as to access the recordings to previous meetings, the virtual town hall is on a repeating event, which can be found on both Easthampton Media's Facebook page and the City of Easthampton's Facebook page. The recordings are all available on Easthampton Media's YouTube channel. There's a playlist that is called the Mayor's Update, where all of these recordings will be housed. Thank you, Mayor LaChapelle. Thank you, everybody, for coming and participating. And hopefully we will see you next week.
Hope so. Hey, Brian, before we shut off, can I just say, one, for Louise, we'll put this link on the webpage, on our landing page, so it's not on social media only. And two, questions or topics that folks would like to hear more of, or people you would like me to get on this event, or do additional ones, I'm happy to do that. Ryan and I just need to know. So you can get a hold of Easthampton Media. You can email me at mayor@easthamptonma.gov. Please stay safe. Cover your nose and your mouth. Wash your hands. Socially distance, and best yet, stay home. Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thanks
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.